Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this Blitz chess postmortem, a postmortem of my Blitz game number 411. I kicked off with e4. My opponent replies with c6, the Caro-Kann. So I played d4, the main move here, just grabbing a little more space in the center. And now by far the most popular move here is d5. Although you see there is this obscure line with g6, which is probably similar to what we play because my opponent plays g6 in a couple of moves. That's to fianchetto this bishop and go for kind of a modern setup, but he plays knight a6 first, which is very rare. So I went ahead at this point and just grabbed some more space on the center. I could have just developed my knight, and it looks like these moves are equally good. And so he routes his knight back to c7. This is kind of wasting a lot of time in the opening, and I really get quite an advantage here, although it's not... at some point, he manages to equalize, so somehow I don't play the best way or take advantage of my opportunities here. But I have a very comfortable position anyway. I can have all this space, so it's easy for me to bring my pieces out. The only trouble is deciding where to put them. But, well, these are good aggressive posts for the pieces. I can always push on with the e-pawn if he castles to the king side. But he hasn't committed to castling one way or the other, so I have to be flexible in my setup. Okay, so he continues with bishop g4. Go h3, kicking it, seeing if he wants to trade or keep the pin. Instead he drops back to d7. So right here, the engine thinks I'm just doing great with the castling, which I play. He goes h6, so continuing to avoid developing. And I just keep developing. So yeah, the chess engine really likes these kind of positions where you have lots of space. Although if you look at black's position, there's no weaknesses, so it's not clear how I can break through immediately. And he goes after this attack on the king side, which is sometimes the way you play these systems. You set up a real solid formation in the center, which is difficult to attack. And then you are free to go after your opponent's king directly. And I've already castled, so he knows right where my king is. But objectively, this shouldn't be that great. So I play a defensive move here, knight h2, trying to slow down the pawns from coming in. The engine is not afraid and goes for the more aggressive queen to b3. The chess engines know no fear, hitting the weak b-pawn over here. Let's see, other ideas are pushing on in the center immediately. I decided it would be better to try and hold up these pawns a little bit. It looks like that's not a bad move, but too many defensive moves can land you in trouble. So he lines up his queen and his bishop on a battery here. Maybe he's thinking of sacrificing. I go bishop to e2, trying to control this diagonal still, keep those pawns from advancing, or to make black pay a penalty if he does choose to advance. So he goes for bishop g7. We back up. So my advantage, so it's a combination of knight h2 and... I guess it's the move knight h2. Gave away some part of my advantage. But you see I still keep an edge here. And bishop e2. So these are defensive moves, and like I said, the chess engine believes in playing aggressively, and it's probably correct too. So bishop g4, once again, I'm just trying to relieve some of the pressure here. What's the engine recommending? b4, grabbing more space, bishop to e3, developing another piece. So just continuing with logical play. I get a bit nervous when I see all these things rushing at my king. This keeps some edge, but now after a while you'll see that... Well, he plays knight e6 here. He manages to get close to equality after a few more moves. So I push on with d5 at this point, wanting to get rid of that bishop. So he goes knight d4. Cancel that. Sorry, he went knight to d4. Yeah, parking the knight right here. It's not a move I had expected. I was expecting him to come over here to c5. But, well, his knight is supported there. So I traded. Queen takes, and then bishop e3, and it chased that knight away. So I'm still keeping the edge. So c5 supporting it, and then f4. I want to try and clarify things a bit over here. And he goes knight to f6. Cancel that. He's developing the other knight. Knight to f6. I take. So maybe that's the mistake. I noticed at some point he I'm still keeping an edge through here, but at some point I looked at this previously, managed to equalize. So f takes g5. Yeah, still keeps some edge. H takes. And then bishop takes d4. I didn't want to grab the g-pawn and open up another line of attack, although that is playable. Yeah, so that's the way to keep the edge, is to actually grab the pawn at this point. I wasn't sure. You know, you have two lines open against the king. He can castle queenside, get a rook to the g-file, and there's a lot of tactics I have to be careful about. I wanted to keep the g-file closed, so these defensive moves that I've made have given away the advantage, and at this point we're basically equal. So his peculiar opening play has not been punished. Okay, but the game continues. I still have a comfortable position. Knight h5, queen f2. Cancel that. I didn't play queen f2. I went queen e3. Yeah, that was maybe a bit slow. Queen f2 looks like the logical move here. Putting pressure on the f file immediately. But queen e3 keeps an eye on the knight. So any exchange can be met by any exchange of bishop for knight can be met by queen takes if I want to. Okay, he continues in knight f4. So he's very consistently proceeding with this kingside attack. I go knight to g4. Now I've got this pawn securely blockaded here. And the best way for black to continue is to bring more pieces into the attack. Rook c8, tickling this guy. Or queen to c7. And, he has his pieces lined up. I have to be careful about the pressure on my knight there. And some weaknesses on the queen side. Instead, he continues with kingside play with f5. And this is a mistake. And at this point, finally, I get the advantage. So I can just grab this pawn. I don't want to move my knight off of this really excellent post. He grabs back with the queen, but now he's in this peculiar pin. Well, it's not peculiar. He's just in a pin. And there's an immediate threat of g3 kicking the knight. Let's see, I didn't play that, actually. Why didn't I play that? Hold on a second. Is there a problem here I'm not seeing at the moment? He does have ways of moving the knight with check. The knight can come here with check. So I played knight e2, putting pressure on his knight that way. Let's see what would happen at g3. Oh, knight takes h3 check is the problem with g3, I guess. Just to put that on the board, yeah, knight takes h3 check, king here, and queen takes g4. Yeah, loses the knight. So, not so simple to take advantage of that right away, but I bring my knight to e2, putting a little more pressure on it. He takes, getting rid of the pin right away. Would be better for him to suffer a little bit longer and play queen d3, unpinning, and maybe threatening to trade. Well, he doesn't want to trade queens, because that would leave me in a pretty good position. So I can understand why he didn't want to play queen d3. Rook f8 maybe is a way to play. Okay, so he just went for the exchange, and now he doesn't have a whole lot going for him. He does get this check in, which you always have to watch out for in these openings where you've moved the f-pawn. Often this, and also when black is fianchettoed his bishop, he often has this idea. So the king just steps away from the check, and there's nothing happening. I mean, there is a pin on the h-pawn, so I have to be careful not to lose the knight, but the knight is protected by the queen. So we're all good. So he lines up on the h-file, and I just protect with rook f3. Let's see, was there a better, more precise way of playing? Yeah, c5. I mean, I don't really need to protect it, but I wanted to double on the f-file anyway. So rook f3, queen went to h4, cancel that, h4. And now rook to d1. Oh, that's right. I was thinking of putting it on e1, going after the king directly, but I decided to chase the bishop away first. Bishop dropped back to c5, and now I have this square here where I can place the knight because of the pin on the e-file. So I go in with knight f6 right away. Now the engine really likes queen e6, but knight f6, okay, is second choice. Queen e6. Let's take a look at that, because that's such a large number. Queen e6, it gives queen takes g4 as the best reply, but that obviously gives up the queen, so it's hard to believe. What is the threat here? Say he plays king to d8 to just unpin. Or what if he develops a rook? Rook to h6 to chase the queen away. Knight takes h6. Okay, that's no good. Queen to f2, giving up the queen. Queen takes g4. King to d8. Okay, let's look at the king d8 move. What's my threat here? My threat is rook f7. Okay. So how about rook to f8? Then rook takes f8. King takes. And rook f1 check. King g7. And it looks like, yeah, the rook is coming into f2 again. King can't go to g8. It's got to go to g7. And knight e5. And there's a mate in 5 here. Even with rook f7, there's a mate in 8. So, okay, my attack is just breaking through with that move, queen e6. Interesting move. Okay, so I played knight e6 check, taking advantage of the pin. He moved his king to d8. So, I mean, this is still winning, but not the most precise way to play. Now I line up on the e-pawn. Goes bishop b4. But going for the counterattack doesn't work here. Check. Chase the king around. Nice little king hunt here. Queen d7 check. King to b8. Yeah, I had a feeling there should be a mate here somewhere. But I played rook e8 check. And actually rook e7 is the mate. So let's take a look at this. Rook e7. Threatens checkmate immediately. Yeah, so I should have thought of this. And how does he defend this pawn? But he does, so he defends by throwing in queen e1 check. That's just giving the queen away. So that's admitting defeat. Okay, so rook e8 check, and he takes. I was thinking this should be mating too. Well, it looks like it is. It's just longer. King c7, queen d7 check, king b6, and queen b5 check. So I played all these moves. And then after king c7, I didn't want to repeat. The best way to proceed here, okay, the way to proceed to mate is rook to e3. So I assume the idea is just to bring the rook in and mate this way. There's no value to be gained by repeating moves with the queen. But, well, I can simply win material with queen takes b4 here. And he resigned at this point. Also, queen takes b4, it's important. He is guarding this e1 square, so it's no check. Now, he always had these threats of going for some checks against my king I had to watch out for. So he resigned at this point. That's how the game ended. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you again soon. Bye.